So this video is for anyone who wants to start up a mantis shrimp tank, and I'm going to focus mostly on the care and maintenance of a peacock mantis shrimp tank, which is the species that I have. So the first thing we want to talk about when we're set up a tank is what kind of tank shape, material, and size is the best for our mantis shrimp, and that obviously depends on the animal itself, what species you're getting, and what size you're getting. Now, peacock mantis shrimp get up to about 6 inches in length. Mine, you can see here living under this rock, is only about 3 inches. So he's still pretty small. But what I have here is a 40-gallon breeder tank, which is 3 feet long, 18 inches wide, and about 16 inches tall. So it's fairly short with respect to its length, and that gives it a nice footprint or space here at the bottom for the mantis shrimp to wander around. It's a glass tank. Many people like to put acrylic on the bottom or on the sides, but I really don't think it's necessary. And looking at the data from people who keep mantis shrimp for research purposes, it's very, very, very rare that a mantis shrimp would ever break through a glass tank, especially a 40-gallon glass tank with slightly thicker glass. So we want to make sure that we're able to provide the animal with the proper burrow. In the wild, these creatures dig burrows that can be several feet long underneath large rocks, which obviously in the home aquarium we can't provide them with that. So a PVC pipe really makes a good substitute. And notice I haven't even included a very deep substrate because the PVC pipe is the most appropriate burrow for a peacock in the home aquarium. It doesn't look particularly attractive, and it's not something that I necessarily enjoy having in the aquarium, but it's better for the animal. It gives them a nice home, a nice smooth dark place to hide during the day if they want. And obviously mine likes to stay out a lot, so he's dug a little hole under this rock here and stays under there sometimes. But I've coated this pipe with epoxy and coral gravel rubble to kind of hide the appearance of just a bare pipe. It's about 10 inches long, and the diameter of the hole, the interior, is 1.5 inches, and you want to make sure that the diameter is about 1.5 times the width of the animal. So eventually I'm going to have to upgrade this as my mantis shrimp grows. Now I've kept a mix of kind of smaller coral gravel substrate mixed with shell, pieces of live rock scattered about the tank, and the mantis likes to move them around. Just gives them a little bit more of just a little more similarity to their natural environment when they can build. And mantis shrimp are great engineers. They really like to build structures in front of their burrow, especially when they're molting, and move stuff around, feel the different shapes of rock. It's almost like their playground. And so it's really important to give them a lot of different materials to use. So the lights, people get really bent out of shape about lighting, but even for peacock tanks, peacock mantis shrimp are a deep water species, so normally the light that permeates that depth is more blue in color. And so people say that dual blue lighting is the best, and I would tend to agree, but there are many people, even research scientists, that keep mantis shrimp in full up reef tanks with full spectrum lighting. And so lighting will not be a cause of success or failure in a tank. It's just your choice, and you need to think about whether you want to mimic the creature's natural environment or whether you want to keep coral. I like to keep high flow in my tanks to suspend detritus and other particulate matter from settling and kind of fouling the water quality. So I have 2 pumps, one on either side, and a hang-on back filter, and they're on a wave maker that keeps the flow really high. I think I have about 60 to 65 times the volume of this tank turning over per hour. So it's pretty high, and I feel like that mimics their natural environment a little better too. In the ocean, the flow is usually pretty strong. You can definitely see the surface of the water rippling there. Getting back to this light, I think the light that I have, just for a frame of reference, is It's a single bulb T8, maybe 20 watts, something like that. I have a hang-on back filter that I clean out. You do have to clean out hang-on back filters as they get full of residue. They will begin to kind of leach nitrates back into the tank. So I clean it out, but it works good in just keeping out some of the more coarse debris. I also have a hang-on back refugium. It has some marine pure biospheres, you can see there in the corner, and some macroalgae that keeps the nitrates fairly low. And I use a automatic top-off system to minimize the salinity change due to evaporation. And you can see the tube coming in there. That's really about it for equipment. Pretty simple setup. You can keep mantis shrimp tanks very simple, or you can make them very complicated. I've had the most success when I've kept them simple, and so that's kind of what I'm showing here. I have a couple corals in my tank. Red Montipora capricornus and a yellow nano whip. And like I said, you can keep corals in the tank no problem if you're willing to provide them what they need, especially the lighting that they need. I don't have much lighting, so that's really all I can do is keep low light needs corals. Other inhabitants, I have a couple ornamental shrimp, but you have to be willing to understand that mantis shrimp are opportunistic hunters. So anything you put in the tank, you need to have the attitude of being willing to lose it, because at some point it's likely that your mantis shrimp is gonna eat whatever you put in the tank with it. Mantis shrimp have varying personalities. Some will actually let fish sleep in their burrows with them at night. Don't have any problem with inverts or other things in the tank with them. But some mantis shrimp will just eat everything you put in the tank, and you have to be willing to deal with that. Different types of food you can get for mantis shrimp. I like to keep snails in the tank, and I usually have some emerald crabs that I keep in the refugium until I want to feed them. Seraph snails, dwarf seraph snails, any sand burrowing snails like Nacerius really make good treats. Live feeder shrimp, live brine shrimp. I actually have a selection of live brine shrimp here that I'm going to feed later. Anything to keep them used to the idea of stalking their prey as they would in the wild, but they also like frozen foods such as shrimp, krill, octopus, clams. Pretty much anything you put in the tank, it's food. They're gonna eat it, and they like to eat at least, I would say, at least 3 times a week. But if you fed them every day, they would eat every day. And studies in the wild have indicated that many mantis shrimp go on 2 to 5 foraging trips per day to find food. So that'll give you an idea about how much they like to eat. And normally when I feed, I try to keep the size of the portion down to maybe like the size of my pinky fingernail. Just you don't want to give them too much food, because a lot of times leftovers can be left to rot in the tank. Some mantis shrimp will even bury leftovers in the sand, and that can cause the water quality to foul quickly. Speaking of water quality real quick, as with any saltwater tank, you want to keep nitrates to a minimum. The nitrates in this tank aren't perfect. They're usually between 10 and 20 parts per million, and that's sufficient for a mantis shrimp tank. I try to keep them as low as I can, though, and whatever strategies are needed is going to depend on the individual tank setup, what kind of inhabitants you have with the mantis shrimp, how often you feed, what your cleaning routine's like. Having a skimmer can offset some of the excess nutrient buildup for some people. I don't think that I need one, and I've had this tank set up for about 7 months, had this mantis for about 3 months, and I'm satisfied with where the nitrates are at. Obviously the algae in this tank is fairly minimal, even though I don't have a large cleanup crew. And so for my tank, this setup works. For some people, you might need more equipment or a more rigorous cleaning schedule. I usually do about 10% water changes per week on this tank. More information online can be found at Roy's list for stomatopods, which will give you a lot of information on all different kinds of species. And that's really the most important consideration you want to make before you set up your tank, is you want to learn all you can about the individual species that you're getting. Learn a little bit about what other owners have experienced with that species. You can go on to Reef Central in the Mantis Shrimp forum and learn from people who have kept Mantis Shrimp for a long time, and that's where I learned a lot of this information. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope this video will be useful to new Mantis Shrimp tank owners. Thanks.